Well, I guess it's time to get at this again. Daddy and I just got home from the grocery store. We kind of loitered and looked the place over. And I would run over to the Yankee store, so I have no idea how much groceries cost tonight, but we stocked up a little bit. And it's been such a beautiful day here today after a drizzly day all day yesterday. And this morning we turned the news on just before we finished eating breakfast, and the forecast for today was thunder showers today yet and tonight and tomorrow. But it's just been a gorgeous day, and it is this evening too. It's a little bit cool but not cold, and I like it this way. And I came home and put our groceries away, and then Daddy went back to work for a while. He said he was trying to align a car, and he'd gotten behind today because the factory man was up, so he thought he'd better work. I stopped on the way home from work and washed the insides of those windows and started cleaning the floor. But you know, Daddy, when he rolled the paint on the walls, I don't think he realized that there was a fine spray went on those floors, and I had to use steel wool to get that stuff up. And I didn't quite finish the floor, and I didn't finish that little bit of painting either, so I suppose I'll have to plan to work Saturday afternoon. I called Fionn and asked her if the meeting was going to be, our party would be at the church tonight, because it didn't say in the bulletin whether it be at the church or someplace else. And she said, no, Sylvia, she said the meeting was canceled for August because so many would be away, and she said that it was put in the bulletin, but there was a special announcement made that it had been canceled in the Sunday morning service. And of course I wasn't there to hear it, so if Daddy hadn't planned to go back to work, he'd have probably taken me over to the church and let me out, and I'd be sitting over there all alone. So it's a good thing I called her to check on it, and while I was checking, I planned to ask her if she'd stop by and pick me up. But as it was, why, here I am, and I can finish this tape now, I hope. I took my recorder last night and started Mabel's tape going, and we just got a good start, and I looked, and there it was. It was turning over on this one, too. And I said, oh, Mabel, I said, your trouble isn't your machine. I said, it's this tape. And so we tried 2 or 3 times, and it kept doing it. And so finally I said, well, let's cut what's ruined off. And I guess we wasted about 10 feet of it. And I said, well, there's no crease in that. Now let's try it again. And started to do the same thing. And she said, well, let's go ahead. It will record one side. And she said it'll play back because mine did. And so while we were recording, I just happened to kind of look it over, and I found by raising the reel up a little bit that it wouldn't do it. So we finally got a good reel taped, and there weren't too many out downstairs, but the ones that were there are good little singers, and they sang several choruses, and then they each said a little bit, and then I told the story about your little dog coming to live with you, and this tape was meant for the O'Hare's children. So the kids there sure did sit spellbound. They were so eager to hear about Brownie that I guess maybe the kids over where this tape will be going in France will be interested in it too. So here's our little dog story for tonight. It's a little lost puppy. I don't think you have this book. It's a read aloud book by the Wonder Books. And it's about a little puppy. And it was Tommy Bell's white puppy with black paws and black ears, and he was lost. Tommy looked everywhere for him but could not find him. So he asked the 3 fat policemen who took care of his part of town to help him find the puppy. They hunted for more than an hour, but no one found the white puppy with the black paws and black ears. So each policeman decided to hunt in a special place. And there I can hear our ambulance going down the street. I always hate to hear that. Anyway, the first fat policeman went to look in the field across from the schoolhouse. There he heard a cheep, cheep, cheep. It was a sad, soft cheep. That bird couldn't be very happy. There, far out on a branch, was a yellow canary bird with a black stripe on each wing. The bird looked lost and sounded very lonely. The first fat policeman took him gently in his hand. The second fat policeman went to look in the narrow lane behind the shops on Main Street. He heard a meow, meow, meow. It was a soft, sad meow. That cat couldn't be very happy. There behind a big rubbish can was a small orange kitten. The kitten looked lost and sounded very lonely. The second fat policeman took her gently in his arms. The third fat policeman went to look in the woods beyond the railroad tracks. There he heard nothing but the wind blowing through the trees. He saw many animal footprints tracking back and forth, in and out, and across the muddy paths all the way to the field beside across old Mr. Dump's house. The three policemen met in the square in front of the town hall. "Look," said the first fat policeman, "I didn't find Tommy Bell's white puppy with the black paws and black ears, but I found this yellow canary with a black stripe on each wing." "Look," said the second fat policeman, "I didn't find Tommy Bell's white puppy with the black paws and black ears, but I found this small orange kitten." "Well, I didn't find Tommy Bell's white puppy with the black paws and black ears either, but I found many animal footprints tracking back and forth in the woods and running all the way into the field beside cross old Mr. Dump's house," said the third fat policeman. People gathered to find out what was the matter. "Look," cried a small red-headed boy, "there's Molly Green's yellow canary with the black stripes on each wing." "Look," cried a small blue-eyed girl, "there's the orange kitten Miss Prissy bought from the pet shop last week." The third fat policeman kept telling over and over in a loud voice all about the animal footprints he saw. Molly Green came up, and when she saw her yellow canary with a black stripe on each wing in the first policeman's hand, she hurried up to him and said, "Oh, thank you, Mr. Policeman, for finding my lost canary. He was chased by a kitten this morning when I let him out of his cage to fly around a little." She took the yellow canary gently in her hands. Just then Miss Prissy came along the street. She saw the second fat policeman holding her small orange kitten, and she hurried up to him and said, "Oh, thank you, Mr. Policeman, for finding my lost kitten. She was chased by a puppy this morning." She took the kitten gently in her hands. Just then Tommy Bell joined the crowd. The third fat policeman called out, "We can't find your puppy, Tommy. We found a yellow canary bird with black stripes on each wing and a small orange kitten, and we saw lots of animal footprints tracking back through the woods and across the fields, but we can't find your white puppy with black paws and black ears." Suddenly there was a loud barking noise. Into the square came cross old Mr. Dump, leading his big black or brown watchdog. The big brown watchdog was barking at the little market basket in his master's arms. What a time, muttered cross old Mr. Dump over and over. Just then he saw the three fat policemen. "Officers, officers," he called, "I'm glad to find you. People in this town don't keep their pets at home. They run all over my fields, and my big brown watchdog chases them. This morning there was a whole string of them, chased by this. Mr. Dump was so excited he sputtered all over the words as he opened the market basket he was carrying. Out jumped a white puppy with black paws and black ears and ran straight up to Tommy, wagging his stubby tail so hard it shook his whole body. The crowd cheered. Tommy found his puppy. You keep your canary bird in his cage from now on so the kitten can't chase him, said the first fat policeman to Molly Green. You keep your kitten in your own yard so this puppy can't chase her, said the second fat policeman to Miss Prissy. You train your puppy not to run away and chase other people's pets, said the third fat policeman to Tommy. And you train your big brown watchdog not to chase every animal that runs in the woods and fields beside your house, said all the three fat policemen to cross Mr. Dump. Thank you, policeman, for helping to find my puppy, called Tommy as he turned to run home. This white puppy with black paws and black ears running along happily at his heels. Now that's the end of that little story, and it didn't take very much of the tape, did it? All of the stories in this little book are about little dogs, and I thought maybe it would be interesting to you now because you've got a little dog. Grammy can almost see your little doggy. I'm so glad we got to get acquainted with him while we were there because when you talk about Brownie now, Grammy can think of what he looks like. Well, that was the phone that rang, and it was Sally, and she said she was going to go over to see Kate, the lady that fell in the cement over at the hospital and broke her pelvis, and I hadn't been over yet, and that happened 2 weeks ago. So I said, well, yes, Sally, I will go because I've been thinking I should, and I said, what I'm doing right now can wait a little longer, but I thought we'd just be going over for a little while, and here she's, it's 9 o'clock now, so we were there, I guess, for a good hour and a half, but I guess she took some of the kids to the show, and she was just waiting until the show was out so she could go and pick them up. But I was glad we went because it was kind of a quiet evening for her, and where she has to stay off her feet all the time, it must get kind of lonesome. So I suppose we spent the evening well and helped pass the time away a little bit. It sure is nice outside. Daddy isn't home yet. I kind of expected to find him home when I got here, but he said it might be a little longer job than what he wished it was, so he's still working. And you know what? That car that he worked on Sunday is still sitting down there. They got the bright idea Monday morning that they'd go to Detroit and get a part that was needed. And Leo offered to go and get it for them, but no, they said they'd go and get it, and in taking that car, they ruined some other parts, and they haven't been able to get them yet, so they are still not going on their vacation, and they just had to have it because they were going to leave Sunday morning at 8 o'clock. But that's the way things go. People get so excited and determined that sometimes higher powers can stop them. Well, let's see, what can I talk about now? It doesn't seem to much news turn up. I haven't heard nothing from home now this week or last week or the week before, I guess, so it must be they're just real busy. I know Aunt Lillian was anxious to paint her kitchen, and they, of course, went up and took care of the stock for Leonard while they went on their vacation, and it seems like she doesn't get much of a chance to keep at her own work because there's so many things turn up all the time and interrupt, and so that's the way it goes for them out there. Well, it seems like I'm having kind of a hard time getting this tape filled up. Last night, right after I got started it this second time, why, Daddy came and he was anxious to turn on the TV, so I turned off the tape recorder. I couldn't think of anything more to say anyway, and so I haven't accumulated a whole lot more yet. I do have a letter here from Aunt Lillian that's for both of us, so I'll send it on to you. I'm so glad that Grandma's going to get to go see Aunt Myrtle. Josephine sort of hinted that they might go and take her because they wanted to go and see Kathleen too, and And Josephine said Mama said so many times that she would love to see Aunt Myrtle once again, and it just might be good for both of them. And it really isn't such a terrible trip. I imagine if they left this morning that they're with Aunt Myrtle tonight. And I'm sure Aunt Myrtle, even though she's in a hospital most of the time, she is able to leave, and when anybody comes and takes her, they let her go. So I just have an idea that she'll entertain them quite royally. She'll probably get a motel for all of them and take them out to eat, and just feel like she's in her seventh heaven tonight, having company that she can entertain a little bit. And as much as she can get around, I think it's real nice for all of them. And it'll do Grandma Wood good, I'm sure, to have this little change. And I was kind of glad to hear from them, too. Daddy's gone to get a haircut. He went down at noon today, and I see his 2 rolls of film here on the table, and I imagine as soon as it gets dark, he'll set the machine up, and we'll look at them, and maybe we'll go through and sort of number the reels again. We really haven't looked at them just alone. We run them through the night that Goddard's and Corey's were here, and then we run them through when Buster's were here, but we had mine to show too, so we just kind of hurried through with them, and the boys were interested in the machine, and they'd stop and talk about and compare their own, and so actually when it come right down to it, Daddy and I haven't looked at these to really enjoy them just between us, and so maybe tonight when we have it hooked up, we'll kind of go through them and number the boxes, so when the splicer does come, we'll know how to put them together in sequence. Kind of anxious to see them again, and I'm anxious to see what he has that we haven't seen. I still have 4 exposures on my last roll that I took out there, and I kind of wanted to try some close-up bust snaps or pictures of Daddy if he'd ever get cleaned up nice. I'm going to try getting some close-ups and see what kind of luck I have. In the pack I have in there, I took several of Mom's close-up, and I hope they turn out good. I have several so that I would have some to share if they did turn out. Other than that, I don't remember what I do have on that roll. Well, this has been kind of a cloudy day, off and on. Looked quite threatening at times today, but it hasn't rained, and it doesn't look like it would right now. I came home from work and did a load of hand washing, 2 or 3 dresses, well, 3 dresses I guess, and a couple uniforms, and I had them out on the line at 4:30, and now it's 7:30, and they're still not dry, so the air is very heavy and humid, and it's not very hot. It's a cold humidity, or sort of a chilly humidity tonight, and it has a little tang of fall. And I was telling Daddy that when I got up at 5:30 this morning, it was really dark enough to put a light on. And here a couple months ago at this time, it was quite light at 4 o'clock in the morning. But, next month we'll be expecting the leaves to begin to turn red. Some of the trees really look like they're starting already, but I'm sure we haven't had any frost yet. And there are a lot of trees in town that the leaves are just completely off of, and I think a lot of these old trees are beginning to die, especially the elms. There seems to be a disease hit them, and a lot of them are just bare. The petunias are sure pretty, and there's a lot of people put in so many this year that really there are a lot of beautiful yards in town right now. Daddy really should have been mowing ours tonight. I expect he'll have to yet tomorrow sometime. Get at it and clip it down because it's getting so long. But really the yards are just as green as they are in springtime right now. And it is pretty. Hope we don't get any more real dry weather. I don't know whether I told you I got moved down into my new office.